right, it is time for Most Anticipated Films of 2023, Part 1. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. This is going to be the first of my 3-part series on my most anticipated films of 2023. I'm really excited to be sharing this. I'm actually just really excited to be thinking and vlogging about film because it's something that I've loved for so long. And one of my few film goals of the year was to make a list of 2023 releases that I was looking forward to. And after I made that list, of course, I wanted to share that list, but then I looked at that list and I'm like, that's a lot of movies, so I have decided to split this out into 3 videos, and this video I'm going to go over the films that are action films and or historical films. So let's see what made the list. Alright, first up we have, I think the first film that I saw a trailer and knew was coming out in 2023, and I was just like, that looks absolutely spectacular, I can't wait to see it, and that is The Three Musketeers. Now, this is actually a French version of The Three Musketeers, which makes a lot of sense because it's based on the French book by Alexandre Dumas, but I don't think I've ever seen a French version of The Three Musketeers, and they're actually splitting this into 2 films. There's going to be one D'Artagnan and then another film, Milady. So it's sort of a part 1, part 2 situation. And I just am so excited. If you haven't seen the trailer, I highly recommend checking it out. I felt swept away by it, and it felt like it had the weight of a historical, epic, important story. And I feel like, of course, The Three Musketeers should be like that. But then every version of The Three Musketeers I've seen has been more action-adventure oriented and swashbuckling and like sort of, I don't know, especially because D'Artagnan is sort of like the young guy and stuff like that. But this feels like big and important and weighty and just looks amazing, and the cast looks amazing too. We have Eva Green as Milady and Vincent Cassel as Athos, and then I don't know the rest of the cast as far as I can tell, but for D'Artagnan we have Francois Civil, who actually I have seen in As Above So Below, or I should say I have seen As Above So Below, and he is in it, and I actually really liked As Above So Below. It's a horror thriller film, and I felt like it didn't really get a lot of traction, or it didn't, I don't know, people that not like horror is a I guess the easiest way to say it is, generally speaking, horror is only watched by horror fans, so maybe that's the best way to go with it. And I actually really like the message of As Above So Below, and I really enjoy that. Anyway, so the guy who plays D'Artagnan is from that, and then as Porthos we have Pio Marmé, and Aramis is Romain Duris, both of which have tons of credits, but I don't, there was nothing that popped out that I know them for, but perhaps I just haven't been watching enough French film and TV. So anyway, I am really looking forward to this. It just looks absolutely spectacular. I hope that it becomes available here on a streaming service or even in the theater. This one had release dates of Easter and December for the 2 different parts. So I haven't seen it anywhere. I haven't looked recently, but I just cannot wait. So that is The Three Musketeers, D'Artagnan, and Milady. So after this we go into, I think, mostly action films. But this next one, I'm not sure actually. So the next one we have is Fist of the Condor. I am so excited for this. This stars Marco Zazor. It is a martial arts action film. This is the premise. So a group of martial artists search for a book to unlock secrets of overcoming the limits of the human body. I mean, sign me up. Of course I'm going to watch this. So this is directed by Ernesto Diaz Espinosa, who also did Mirageman, Mandrill, Kiltro, and Redeemer, all of which feature Marco Zazor, who's an amazing martial artist. The first film that I saw him in was Mirageman, which was when it was at the Toronto After Dark Film Festival. He's just a brilliant martial artist, and I am really looking forward to this one. I actually don't remember how I found out about this one. I think I was just researching maybe like action films coming out this year, and I just like, my eye just drew, and I'm like, what? And then I was like, oh, I saw the people involved. I got super excited. So Fist of the Condor is the second film on the list. It might be available now. It says that it came out in limited release in April and DVD release in May. So, I mean, I'm going to keep my eye out for this one. Next up, we're going to get into some series continuations. First up, for action films, I had to, of course, include John Wick Chapter 4. This one already has been released. I mean, I think if you're an action movie fan, you're familiar with John Wick. I loved the first one in particular. The second one, I was not as fond of, and then the third one I liked a bit more, but for me it's the first one is just absolutely extraordinary. I like the sort of secret society element to it and the sort of, one person versus everyone element to it, but I do find as the series progressed it felt less believable. And I guess I found the first one in its own way. I felt like it was believable, but I don't feel I can suspend my disbelief beyond that. But, I mean, you're really there for the action. Also, of course, Keanu Reeves is just so good in these movies, and I'm really looking forward to it. Actually, I don't know. And I haven't looked to see who else is in this, but I did end up there when I was researching, noticed 2 other action stars that are in this that I got very excited about. So I'm going to let it be a surprise when I do end up finally watching it instead of researching it. And sometimes I do that with the next in a series because I know I'm just gonna watch it, so I might as well just be surprised when it happens. So John Wick Chapter 4 is the next on my list. And then we have a biggie. So the Indiana Jones 5 film, which is the Dial of Destiny, this has already been released. I watched the Indiana Jones movies throughout my entire life. I remember waiting in line for Temple of Doom. Like, literally, I was waiting we were in, some kind of hallway in a mall. Back in those days when that kind of stuff happened. And I didn't love Temple of Doom. They're not my favorite. I will be honest, they're not my favorite. I like the third one, The Last Crusade. I think that one's my favorite. But they're not rewatchers for me. But there are some, they're just sort of like zeitgeist kind of, films. But for me, I'm actually watching this because it ended up popping up on my list because there are several actors that I always watch, that I'm trying to watch their entire filmography. And so when a new film comes out that they're in, of course I want to watch it. And who I want to see, I don't even think is on the poster. Not that I can tell. It was tough to get a poster that worked for what I needed. But anyway, so who I am looking forward to and seeing in this one is Mads Mikkelsen. So he is an actor that I watch everything I can that he is in. I'm actually a little behind, but so eventually I will watch Indiana Jones. And again, it's just sort of zeitgeist, you know what I mean? And it is one of those, we've had several series where it's now like how many years later? The first Indiana Jones movie was in the 80s, so it's like, let's not do the math. So a lot of years later, to have these series that just keep going. So I don't even know what this one's even about, and I'm just gonna, whenever it's available, I will watch it. So there we go. Next up, another series continuation is Creed 3. So this one is already out, if I remember correctly. I think it's available on streaming on Prime here in Canada. I loved the first Creed. I thought it was so good. And then the second one I thought was okay. But I will just, continue to watch the series. It's so funny because it's like, I'm actually not 100% sure if I saw all the Rocky films. I know I've seen 1 through 3 for sure. And I love the first one. And again with Creed, loved the first one. And I think boxing films, I love sport films, but boxing films I love the stories, but sometimes I find the boxing really a little tough to watch. I don't know why I feel differently about it than other forms of martial arts or where it's hand-to-hand combat stuff. I guess because really I feel like you're trying to punch the person in the head a lot. Like, not always, you go for the side and all of the other stuff, but I'm like, not the head. You know, like, I think that sometimes makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But of course, the lot that comes to this is the story and the journey. But I do find boxing films harder to watch than some other martial arts films for some reason. So I guess for that reason. But anyway, Creed 3, really curious to see where they go with this one. I'm not sure if you have seen the whole series. It's been a couple of years since I watched Creed 1 and 2. I do own them. So if you've watched all three, would you recommend watching them all together? Because I might do that to refresh my memory. We'll see. So this one is kind of also exciting that this one already is available to watch. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do the list like this is so that when something becomes available, that I watch it right away. So continuing on with more series, we have, of course, Fast 10 or Fast X. One of my other film goals this year is to rewatch the Fast and the Furious franchise or series, the Fast and the Furious series. Actually, it is franchise because I'm including the Hobbs and Shaw. So I'm a little behind schedule, but I do plan on rewatching all of the ones I haven't seen and then watching Fast 9 or Furious 9, I think it's called, and then this one. And I'm hoping to finish all of those up by around Halloween. So we'll see how that goes. I am doing a film series countdown, one video per film, and so that's been fun to do. It's just this one, without question, I think there's going to be like a lot of added value by rewatching the series in order, just because of the amount of the characters, through lines, and the people that are in the films. So I'm really looking forward to this one. This one has already been released, and so I will, but I'm not going to get to it for a couple months because my rewatch is going a little slower than expected, but I'll get there. Next up, we have another series continuation, and that's Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. To be honest, this one I just sort of put on the list because it's like part of the MCU, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't even know where I am. I think I'm up to date with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I am, again, in vain trying to rewatch the films in internal chronology order, but I kind of feel like I might have missed the boat on that, because I don't even know what phase we're in. I'm not very familiar. I get a little fussy when there's so many different films and interconnected things, and now also with potentially the interconnected TV series, and I'm like, how much time and investment are you really expecting me to watch just like a film? Really? And most of them are really good, and most of them I really like, but I do sometimes feel a little bit frustrated with that, with the MCU in particular. But without question, will I watch this? Yes. Will I rewatch the other two Ant-Man and Wasp films? Maybe, maybe not. I actually think they're underrated, at least the first one. I thought it was a lot of fun. Don't remember the second one very well, but again, there's so many films. I do feel like they're a bit of a mini-series within the series, which is something interesting about the MCU, but I feel like I feel like if there's so many nods and there's so many like sort of Easter eggs, that if you're not up to date and you don't watch everything, you can tell you're missing something. And I think that's the part that bothers me. I think if it's extra and you don't notice it, that's fine. But if you feel like you're missing out, that's what I don't like. Anyway, I will watch it. There's no question about that. Another one that I will watch, and I'll probably rewatch the sort of ones within this mini arc within the MCU again, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This one also has already been released. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy, especially the first one. I love it. But I didn't watch the Christmas special, and I meant to watch the Christmas special, so I want to watch the first two plus the Christmas special before watching the third one. So I don't know. Do I have to schedule in a whole MCU thing? I don't know. It's so many movies at this point. It's over 25, I think. So yeah, I don't know. But in terms of the different characters and the mini stories and the mini series within the MCU, Guardians of the Galaxy is in my top 2. So, I don't know if I think it's actually 2 different miniseries at the first place. I don't want to pick favorites that much. So, but yeah, that one has already been released. I don't know if it's on Disney yet, but it will be, I imagine, I don't know how quickly they turn on to being available on Disney. Next up, we have yet another series continuation, and that is The Expendables 4, or Expendables with 4 as an A in the middle of the word. This one actually was on my last year's most anticipated list because it was scheduled to come out last year. I'm not sure when or why it got moved, probably COVID. But yeah, so for me, I don't think I ever saw The Expendables 3. I thought the first one was great, like just so great. Didn't like the second one. I think it was gender crap. That's usually the problem with action movies, when there's a reason why I don't like them, or I don't like it. I like, in terms of action films, I do tend to like sort of more ones that are focused on hand-to-hand combat. And actually, all the Marvel ones are a bit more superhero, which is more sci-fi, but they're very actiony. They always have big actiony sequences, so I included them here. But yeah, but this one, I mean, like, what are even all those weapons? They're all guns and knives. Knives is kind of like, I'm more of a hand-to-hand combat kind of person when it comes to action movies. So anyway, The Expendables 4, I will see it. The reason to see it is because it includes someone who is the only person that I know 100% for sure I have seen their complete filmography, and therefore will see this film to continue the completion, and that is Iko Uwais, who is from The Raid 2, Headshot, and Wu Assassins, Fists of Vengeance. So last year, one of my film goals was to watch all of his films that I hadn't seen yet, and I successfully completed that goal, and he is in this, so I will, of course, watch this. He is an Indonesian martial artist and is absolutely amazing. So that is the draw for The Expendables 4. And our final film in this list of most anticipated action films, I'll admit, this one was a bit of a stretch. I didn't know whether to include it here or with, like, horror. And that is Meg to The Trench. Oh, that did not end up being a great pick for white balance. Well, we're just gonna live with it. So yeah, Meg to The Trench. I loved the Meg. I loved it. I thought it was great. I read the book in anticipation for the film, and I don't know. And I don't know if this one follows the second book, because the second book is called The Trench, so I don't know if that's true. But I mean, it's a shark movie, obviously. If you haven't seen Meg or The Meg, was it? I can't remember what they ended up going with. I think they ended up going with The Meg. So I will definitely have to rewatch that. That will be no trouble at all. I really enjoyed it, so much more than I expected. I enjoyed it way more than the book, and it also, these films star Jason Statham, who is great. So yeah, so Meg 2, what do you think? Do you consider it an action movie? Like, that feels very action-y, I guess, because I don't feel like, it doesn't feel like horror to me, I think, because I was gonna say because it's mostly in daytime. Does that make any sense at all anymore? But I don't know. I guess the sort of horror elements, like the sort of really brutal, like kind of violence elements, also seem so over the top. It's almost comedy. It's not comedy or parody or anything like that. But it's, I guess, maybe more suspense. I don't know. What genre would you consider the Meg films? I would love to hear it. Oh, I didn't realize that's a little dog there. I'm betting on the shark. Anyway, so yeah, those are the films, the action films and the historical films, or the historical action films, that I am looking forward to that are being released in 2023. Let me know if you have an action or historical film on your radar that you are looking forward to that wasn't on this list, or alternatively, let me know which of these films sounds the most exciting to you. As I said, this is going to be the first in the 3-part series. The second part, or part 2, will include horror, thriller, fantasy, and family. Some of the groupings are a little odd, but but this one was mostly action. I mean, and it had a lot of series continuation, and a lot of the Marvel films, I guess you could also put into science fiction as well. Superhero films are almost, I feel like, a genre of their own. It's not technically a genre, or is it? Do you consider superhero a genre? Is it a trope? So it sort of takes me into some book conversations that I've been hearing people talk about. Anyway, so that's the off topic. So yes, part 2 will be coming soonish, and I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I am looking forward to all of these movies when they come out, or when they become available, or when I finally get to watch them at some point. Some of them, of course, require some homework. I gotta watch Fast and the Furious movies and the original Meg, and maybe the first 2 Creed films. We shall see. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with another video soon. Take care.